welcome to our 11th and last blog of Murder on the Orient Express. Today's a very special episode. We'll be discussing just chapters 8 and 9 of part 3, or chapters 31 and 32. This is our last two chapters of the novel. We are done. We are discussing the ending. We are seeing who the murderer is, who killed Ratchet. So let's not lose any time. Let's finish this. Let's get it done. We got here. We have gotten what's been a hell of a ride. 30 chapters analyzed, summarized, and it's been a great experience personally. And so let's just get this done so we can finally have a conclusion of Murder on the Orient Express. Hey guys, so chapter 8 of part 3. So by now we have a quite special remark of Book in which he says that how come everyone is related to the Armstrong family, and to what Hercules says he wouldn't be surprised at this point. And so they call Antonio Foscanelli, the Italian, to watch. He reveals that he was the chauffeur of the Armstrong family by the time Daisy was healthy and living. So Book at least did got something right. And what's quite interesting is that he did describe Daisy as some very important member of the family, that she was the light, the center of the family. She was that person that was keeping the family as a whole shown. So when she was murdered, really the whole family just broke apart, and we can see how that went. That didn't went very well. Lastly, before Foscana leaves, he states that he did not kill Ratchet, and he just keeps repeating that. And then we have Greta Olsen called in again, and she just enters, bursts into tears, and declares that indeed she was Daisy Armstrong's nurse. She can't hold it anymore, she can't deny it anymore. She just admits it and collapses in front of Hercules. Oh my god, what is going on? Afterwards, having a tearful nurse, we have called in Mr. Masterman, to which he was, let's just guess, another Armstrong family related. Well, not family related, but he was the Batman in the war with the Colonel, and afterwards his valet. However, he does argue something. He says that Antonio did not commit a crime, that he wouldn't hurt a fly. And he just entered and just spit it out. He didn't even have to be asked. Lastly, Mr. Hartman is called in, and he does say that he doesn't have any relationship at all with the Armstrong family. He suspects that he's the only passenger on board that has no relationship at all with the Armstrong family. However, he is asked about the American and her maid, to which Hercules replies that they are probably the cook and housekeepers of, you can guess what, the Armstrong family, of course. And to what, after having this big reveal, Mr. Hartman asks curiously if Hercules knows who the murderer is, to which Hercules replies with a lot of pride in his answer. He says that he has known for quite a time, and he requests that all passengers must be brought to the dining room for the big reveal. And so let's move on to our final chapter of the book. Guys, we're done. We did it. We finished Murder on the Orient Express. So let's get right into chapter 9, guys. Okay, all passengers are summoned on the dining room, and he reveals that he has two possible solutions for this case, to which he asks for Book and Dr. Constantine to hear them out with all the passengers, and then to select the one that is most believable and acceptable. And so let's get right into these possible solutions. So solution number 1. Here it is. Okay, so the first solution is quite simple. Due to Hartman's information, we know that no person passed through their coach. And so the solution number 1 consists that in the stop at Vinkovsky, when the Colonel and McQueen went out to grab some air, they left the door open, and so the men described entered, killed Ratchet and then left. He entered wearing the wagon lead conductor uniform. Now Ratchet's watch would mark 1:15 a.m. because he forgot to change the time respectively to the time zone, so the crime was committed really at 12:15, not 1:15. And so at 12:47 p.m., when the French person responded in the compartment, there was a third person inside that compartment. That's solution one, and now I'll show you guys solution two. Okay, so solution two, here it is. Okay, so it all starts when Book said that at this time of the year it's quite weird having such a wide variety of nationalities. So Hercule concluded immediately that such a wide variety of nationalities could be only found at one country, the United States of America, due to its wide, racially diverse contrast that it has. And so immediately we have a connection with the Armstrongs. And another interesting part, which searched when McQueen was interviewed and the note with the name Armstrong was charred, was that when he handed it to him, McQueen added, "but surely," and he didn't finish his sentence. But that was enough to Hercule to know that it was, "but surely that was burnt," immediately making McQueen one of the major suspects, knowing that he was involved. How would he have known any other form of, how would he have known that the note was indeed burned? Okay, another part that tipped off Hercule is the mastermind's insistence on that Ratchet always took a sleeping draught. Now the search, because why would Ratchet take his sleeping draught if he knew that there was a man that wanted to kill him on board, and if he had received such many threats in the past days, why would he have taken a sleeping draught knowing his life was at such a stake? Next, it's Hartman evidence that allows us to know that no one passed through the Istanbul Cali's coach, so we know that the murder is on the train. And so knowing this, we're looking back at Mary Debenham and the Colonel, and how since the beginning Hercule guessed that because of what he overheard in the Tower Express, he knew that they were quite intimate, that they knew each other, and that it was no coincidence of getting the two together in the Towers Express. And especially what gave away the intimacy between the two was that the Colonel called Miss Debenham Mary, and it was quite weird for an Englishman to call a woman by her first name at that time. Now, what Mrs. Hubbard stated of Greta going into her compartment to check if the door was bolted was completely false, as Mrs. Hubbard could have seen if the bolt was indeed locked, because it was just 1 foot above the bed, so it was nothing that it was hard to spot. And then it was concluded by Hercule that at 12:47 the scream that he heard, the scream of Ratchet was not of, first of all, the scream of Ratchet, it was not of Ratchet because he was drugged, so he couldn't have screamed. And second of all, at 12:47 p.m. when he heard the French, it was not Ratchet in that cabin. By that time, it was possible that he was already murdered. Okay, and so lastly, what we know is that what happened at 12:47 was just stage. Hercule approximates that the killing of Ratchet was actually close to 2 a.m. And so after analyzing the facts and getting to know that most people on the board were related and connected to the Armstrong family, there was just one possible solution because of such a great staging the whole murder had, and it was that all people on board were in it. That the 12 people on board the train related to the Armstrong family looked for their own way of justice, when Cassetti escaped. They formed this group in which they decided to kill Cassetti to have vengeance, and that's why 12 people on the train got together, planned, and strategically staged all this whole act of the murder so they could all have their stab of revenge. And then eventually Hercule realizes that the wagon lead conductor is probably also involved. So that's 13 people. So one person is innocent. Eventually, what we know of is that the innocent person in this case is Countess Andrini, and that the Count took the blame for her. And finally, what we find out is who is Mrs. Hubbard. Mrs. Hubbard is no one else than Linda Arden. Now, Linda Arden, and mother of Sonny Armstrong, is the intellectual genius between this great crime. She said that she had her motives due to vengeance, obviously, and due to the fact that Cassetti escaped his sentence, and that they were just giving his sentence, the sentence that he should have gotten in the United States, but he escaped off. And so afterwards, Mrs. Hubbard, or Linda, asks Hercule if she will take the blame for all, or the 12 persons will be taken to court. Once given the two solutions, Hercule just simply looks at his friend's book and Dr. Constantine and asks which solution be given to the police. To which Book replies, Book is the director of the train company, that the first solution is to be given to the police, and that'll be the official story of what happened on the Orient Express. And eventually at the end, Dr. Constantine does in fact admit that he did gave one or two great suggestions for the creation of this whole amazing case. And so guys, we're done with the book. We have finished the 32 chapters of Murder on the Orient Express. And now, I don't know about you, but to be honest, I didn't expect this kind of ending. When I first read it, I was like totally mind blown, because I mean, I knew that it was only one person. I mean, that was kind of obvious. At like the half of the book, we knew that it was not one murder, that he had some form of help or some form of accomplices. So that kind of part was obvious, but I didn't expect to be the whole first class compartment, except for Countess Andrini. The whole 12 people that, thanks to Linda Arden, created and crafted one of the best crimes in history, that if it wasn't of Hercule Poirot, which is the best detective, presumably the best detective in the world, the case would mostly have stayed unsolved, or with a solution that was similar to the one given to police. But in reality, we would have never figured out that 12 people were involved in the killing of Cassetti or Ratchet. So personally, I love these two last chapters, because I feel like there's such like the climax point of the book, where we get all the characters breaking, starting to cry, starting to reveal what they actually did and their connection to the Armstrong family. And then suddenly we have this whole big reveal, but not just a private reveal between Book and Dr. Constantine. We have a reveal in front of all the characters, in front of all the involved persons, in front how we have all the theories, how we are now able to connect all these small pieces, all these small parts of information. And now at the end, you're just thinking about it and repeating it in your head, and you can say, it makes total sense. It's really hard in comments, but it makes sense. That's how it all went down. That's how they killed Cassetti. And it was really well crafted. It was really interesting. Finally, the ending is my favorite part of the book. I find it a complete plot twist, the reveal. I love it with the elegance that Hercule reveals always the solution of his cases. I find it that it's quite a gentleman style. I really love that. So what can I conclude of this novel? It's a great novel. I would recommend it to anyone that likes mystery, murder, suspenseful books, because you get. I mean, it's a classic of Agatha Christie. If you read And Then There Were None, you would probably really, really enjoy Murder on the Orient Express. They are quite similar. They have a similar writing style. It's not a slow book to read. Some parts are very descriptive, but it keeps you hooked because you keep getting clues. All chapters, it's clues, clues, clues. So there's no point that when you're saying like the book is getting boring because you just keep creating theories in your mind. So it's a great book to start reading with, to start getting involved in mystery novels. And so I would really greatly recommend it. This is actually one of my favorite and personal favorite books personally. And so I would recommend you to check out, if it's not this book, another Agatha Christie novel. They are a great way to getting to start reading some mystery and suspense novels. And well, that's about it. Thank you for watching this 11 blog series of Murder on the Orient Express. Hope you had hope these reviews help you to understand better some chapters, or to have another perspective on the theories or the murders, or how all it went down. So thank you very much, guys, for giving me your time, and I'll see you in the next book that we review.